guys, Seer coming at you today in Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video. I'm in a good mood today because we're talking about speed runs, namely how to build and execute a speed run on your account. Some of the popular champions that are utilized. We're going to be focusing mainly on poison combust or poison activation teams, along with Seer activation, karma burn activation teams, which is my two favorite strategies. Now, when we talk about bosses strategies and speed runs, a lot of them rely on HP burn activation, right? Like the spider and the ice golem, but those are more specific to the actual boss stage. Obviously, we'll touch on that in today's video, but primarily we're talking about how to clear wave content. Okay, this is like Doom Tower floor content or just dragon until you get to the dragon. In the case of poison combust, we can get to the dragon anyway and actually kill the dragon utilizing poison, right? But that's the type of speed run that we're going to be talking about today, and it's going to revolve around the three queens of speed, the trifecta of speed runs in Raid Shadow Legends.
It is only the Queen's eye that matters today.
Now, I do want to mention before we jump into all of these champions and what they do and why they're so freaking good, and I'm going to give you guys plenty of substitutions along the way in today's video as well, in case you don't have any of these champions. We're also going to start from kind of a beginner approach or maybe an intermediate approach and then scale into kind of end game speed farming from there. I'll show you some of my main teams as well. Before all that, I just want to kind of point out one thing. Our goal in today's video, you're going to see a lot of like 4 or 5 champion teams, mostly all 5 actually, now that I think about it. But our goal when farming, when being energy efficient, as I'm broke on energy right now in the game.
Oh, that's nice.
Our goal is to always ideally farm with a team of 4, maybe even a team of 3 champions once we reach the end game, and then use those extra spots on our team to really save a lot of energy and valuable resources instead of going into the campaign, right? Going into the campaign on 12 free just to farm up food, just to level up champions that you want to actually upgrade and use. It's not very energy efficient. So ideally, even though the experience that we're farming in campaign, it comes a lot faster and more plentiful there, we'd like to farm as much as that while we're just farming our gear naturally on our account anyway. So always keep that in mind, even though some of the teams that I show you, again, I think all the teams are going to really be 5-man teams. But we'll talk about ways to kind of pare that down into 4-man teams or 4 champion teams. So first off, we have Eleanor. Eleanor is my personal favorite poison combustor in the game. She's amazing. Her base stats aren't great. If you look at her kit, you might be like, she's all right, but she's way more than all right. She has an irresistible HP burn on the A1 for 2 turns. That's great because she can actually help you out burning down bosses like the Ice Golem as you get to more difficult content. She has an AoE with a poison. She actually places 2 poisons as long as the first attack is critical on an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown. So not only does she combust, literally activate all poisons on all targets, but she also brings poison on her own. So that gives you a lot of flexibility when building a poison combust team around an Eleanor. Why? Because you can decide if you need more poison, you're not able to one-shot everybody with the combust ability. You can lead up with her smolder, her A2 ability, dish out 2 poisons extra on everybody, and then when it comes around to her next turn, you can go with combust. Now that's going to add a little bit of time and it adds a little bit of RNG for the enemies to interrupt what you're trying to do, but it's also a way, kind of a stepping stone. You don't need to graduate to the 20-second run right out the gate. You can work your way there, and that's viable on all the strategies that I'm about to show you, in today's video. The next is going to be Seer. You guys have been playing Raid for any amount of time. You're probably familiar with Seer.
See, Harry, you're famous.
But why am I famous, Hagrid?
It's the karma burn ability, right? She's removing all buffs from all allies and all enemies, and then she's doing damage and placing sleep based on the amount of that damage scales with the amount of buffs removed. So obviously karma burn, we're going to want buffers on our team. Ideally, people who bring like 3 buffs in 1 3-turn cooldown or in 1 ability. We're talking about some of my favorites in today's video. Now, on Seer, just like we talked about with Eleanor, she can actually help herself as well, or help you guys by placing an increased crit rate on all allies for 2 turns and a weaken on all enemies. Now, debuffs and crit damage, they're going to be really important on Seer, putting that decreased defense, putting that weaken. Getting that 6-star crushing rend eventually on your Seer is really going to make a big difference overall in the damage. We can go all in on crit damage when we build a champion like Seer. We do need accuracy as well to remove the buffs from the enemy team. We can also utilize buffs that we're guaranteed to have in the start of every round, like a shield set, like a blood shield, like a bolster set, like a stone skin set. That's right, even buffs that are protected or should not be able to be removed, she is going to remove with the Karma Burn ability. That's right, even protected buffs.
I think I'm gonna buy it. Do you accept cash?
Let me show you a little quick example of that right now. I have my Siphi in a 9-piece protection set, right? So let's just go to, I don't know, let's go to Minnow here, right? And let's put her with Siphi. I didn't even realize this until until protection and stuff was a thing inside the game. And I was like, wow, so she just rips off everything, huh? Even protected, even stone skin, no big deal. So we're gonna come in here, we're gonna put a bunch of protected buffs on the squad, and then boom, they're all gonna be gone. And it's nice that they're put to sleep as well. It's actually some decent control for wave content if you don't happen to kill everybody with the Karma Burn. Okay, number 3 on the list is going to be my least favorite. That's nothing against her. She's still an amazing champion, and it's Xavia. Xavia or Zavia, tomato, eh?
You are an old potato.
She's a dark elf. She's force affinity. She's similar to Eleanoril in some ways, okay? She has a triple hitter with poison on her A1. She has an AoE, 2 times hitter. Each hit 75% chance of placing 2 poisons, or 1 poison each hit, excuse me, on an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown. She also has Deadly Catalyst. Now let's compare this to Eleanoril's Poison Combust ability, right? She is dealing all damage from all poisons instantly, half off the damage against bosses, but she makes up for it by denying revival on enemies that she killed with this ability. It is on a 4-turn cooldown. She's also a companion champion with Bellinor. So when Bellinor uses his tactical partner ability, if you're lucky enough to have both of these champions, he is also going to instantly activate Xavia's A2, where she's dishing out the double hitter and the poisons, right? So worth noting there, we will play them alongside each other. And then the King of Speed, I mentioned the 3 queens. There's a King of Speed too, it's Theodore the Savant. Now Theodore is very unique. He's placing poisons, poison sensitivities, bringing increased speed, why not? But he's also increasing the duration of poisons and burns. And Theodore the Savant, he's instantly activating all poisons and burns on each enemy. That is OP. So let's start with a very basic poison combust team that we might be wanting to build as kind of one of our first teams. So we're going to go Dragon's Lair stage 25 here. And this is a good example of a team that you might going to start with, right? Start with. Now we're going to split this team into kind of 2 components. That's how I look at these poison combust teams. Component number 1, and Seer for that matter. Component number 1 on the Seer activation team. Did I say it was a poison team? I guess we do have poison combust with Dark Kale on the team too. It's kind of a hybrid. I would encourage you guys to not shy away from hybrid strategies, where we go in with a Seer to kill the first 2 waves, and then we use an HP burn or a poison activator, depending on which stage that we're on, to finish off that said boss, right? So on this squad, we have a little bit of redundancy here. We don't need both Mausoleum Mage and Archmage Helmet, but let's go ahead and take a look at the team setup. Team setups are actually a very important thing when we talk about any sort of Seer or poison team. We really want to get to the point where we have everybody doing exactly what they need to do when they need to do it. Sometimes that means delaying skills. So Seer, I mean, we could open up with Karma Burn every ability. Sometimes Seer will go into the clan banner. If you know that you can kill everybody, or you know that you absolutely want to Karma Burn, put first choice, right? So make sure that she's using it as her first choice. Also, Seer can kill you when you get to bosses. So of course, make sure you turn off that Karma Burn ability on the final wave against the boss if you can't stay alive for it, right? Your whole team's gonna lose all of their buffs. It's not gonna matter either way. She's gonna be our DPS actually, along with Dark Kale against the dragon here on this team. We have a cleanser to help us out against the dragon, also Reviver and Reliquary Tender. We have a Dark Kale. Dark Kale's gonna go in there and he's gonna be our poison or HP burn activator against the dragon, right? Mausoleum Mage and Archmage Helmet both have a very, very unique and good ability. They're both bringing 3 buffs on 1 ability. So that's a beautiful Seer activation. So if you have a shield set or a bolster set, in addition to a Mausoleum Mage or an Archmage helmet, there you go. You've got 4 buffs right there in one ability. Anyway, I have them kind of staggering their abilities. So in round 1, I have Mausoleum Mage using his A2, his buff ability, but I have Archmage not using his buff ability. And then in round 2, I have Archmage coming in there and starting with his buff ability, just to ensure there's always buffs for our Seer. Now we already know that Seer's going to go into round 2 and her Karma Burn's going to be off cooldown. So we're gonna have to wait for it to come back. So it's probably not gonna matter that much that we're staggering these buffs. I will say, you want to eventually be looking at, we're missing a component on this team, right? We're missing a reset champion, a Kaimar, a Yumeko, a Crixia, a Renegade, a Painkeeper, someone to push our cooldowns down is absolutely going to help out. But we'll cover that when we get to the kind of the escalation of this strategy or the evolution of this strategy. So I'm not going to take you on this entire run because it is a 2-minute run, I want to say. But you can see the Karma Burn there did a pretty good job. It took out almost everybody, but we didn't kill every single mob there. A Black Knight stays alive with his annoying passive, but it's okay. In this situation, it actually helps us out a little bit because we don't have a reset champion. So even if we got to the second wave a little bit faster, well, our Karma Burn isn't going to be available. But now, guess what it is? 28 seconds with no reset champion actually works out pretty well. I'll take that all day, every day. And then we actually get to the dragon here, and even if somebody dies, we do have Reliquary Tender to revive them should we need it. So that's kind of the first type of Seer activation team that you really want to use. You know, you're probably not going to have the Kaimars and whatnot, but then you can start graduating to a reset strategy using Seer. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at a Doom Tower because this is easy in a way. We only have 2 waves that we're worried about, and then the boss, of course. So we can kind of tackle those together. But on a Doom Tower wave or a Cursed City wave, which is kind of niche because it's unlikely you're going to have all these type of champions available, but you can just get those substitutions. If you have Seer available, just put her with a bunch of buffers, you know, and you're going to be okay. So I guess we are going to watch this entire dragon battle. It's not too bad, right? 79 turns, a minute and 20 seconds. It's not bad for Dragon Stage 25 with no legendaries and a lot of farmable. And this is actually not a bad little weapon here too. I think I'll roll it up. So let's go ahead and keep those results. Let's go over to Doom Tower and look at what an endgame Seer team might look like. So Doom Tower, floor, I think 66. I mean, it works against every floor, but it's going to be a little bit more flawless if there's not like revive champions like Torments, for example, on the other waves that were a little bit ahead of this. But I use this strategy up all the way on Doom Tower Hard all the way to floor 119. Now, there's a couple floors intermixed here that it doesn't really work against for whatever reason, so I just swap over to like a Krisky type team of Mithrala, Lydia, a lot of survivability. It's a lot slower, right? But when we can, where we can, we want to use a Seer activation team. Now, I have Duchess on this team. Duchess is not, you know, super important here. She has a speed or a lead, which is nice, but most importantly, she also, like Mausoleum Mage, Mausoleum Mage, for example, would work in this role just the same as a Duchess would. We don't need anything other than the 3 buffs on one ability from a Duchess in this case. I love Lydia because not only does she debuff, decrease defense, and weaken, but she also brings 2 buffs, so we can strip them away. Increase speed and a strengthen, right? And then we have Kaimar to reset. We have a Yumeko to reset. You could use 2 Yumekos. You could use 2 Kaimars. You could use 1 of each. You can get creative here, but obviously, you got to use what you have. If you only have 1 reset, you only use 1 reset, and then 1 wave takes you a little bit longer. But if you can eventually get your hands on 2 reset champions, this is how you do it in the team setup. You go in there, you make sure that Karma Burn's the first, you know, ability on every single round. On our Kaimar, on the first wave, right, he's the fastest resetter that we have. We're not going to use Seal of Magic. We don't need to use a reset on the first wave ever because all of our abilities are off cooldown, right? On round 2, we're going to go ahead and open up with the Seal of Magic. That's his reset ability. And then we're not going to use it on round 1. Round 3, we can leave it as whatever. Yumeko, though, our other reset champion, we're not going to use her Dance of Time, her reset ability on round 1, nor are we going to use it on round 2. Because Kaimar is going to reset on round 2. We're going to use hers as an opening move on round 3, but we can't use it on round 2, round 1, because we don't want it to be on cooldown. And we're always going to be prioritizing the Siren's Wail ability, and that's it, guys. And this is how you speed farm a Seer team for Doom Tower for any kind of triple wave content, right? With the double reset. So there it is. Again, we'll kind of walk you through it. Seal of Magic, reset the abilities, come in here with a decreased defense the weaken, and then boom, Seer activation. We actually have Stone Skin. We're not even getting Duchess's we're not even getting Duchess's buffs right there, guys. So we're doing it without even needing Duchess.
I'm gonna kill you! I'm gonna kill you, Lord!
We need to mess up with the speeds a little bit there, but it's still a 19-second run, and that's pretty much what you can expect. I think 13 turns is kind of, or 13 turns, excuse me, is kind of my average or my standard on Doom Tower with a double reset team, okay? So guys, that was a Seer activation teams. There's a lot of different ways you can use a team like this, but now I want to shift towards poison a little bit, and you can have hybrids. You know, when we talk about poison, when we talk about HP burn, we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but if you look at, there's another category we're leaving out here, right? There's HP burn activation, there's poison activation, there's karma burn strategies, there's, I guess, like a Siegfried strategy, just wipe out everything if you're lucky enough to have him, right? But then there's the enemy max HP kind of response to bosses or mobs inside this game. They don't typically work very well on wave content, but you guys are probably familiar with kind of a hybrid configuration of a team on a speed run, as we're seeing here in Spider, right? Spider is very conducive to it because Spider is conducive to both enemy max HP abilities like we're seeing here on Newt, and also activation, right? HP burn activation like we saw there on Sissia and Temesia there. So that's a hybrid strategy. Doesn't just have to be for Spider Hard 10 on a speed run, but utilizing enemy max HP champions against a boss, and then some version of a burn activation alongside a poison activation. You can run a lot of hybrids, especially with champions like a Theodore out there. As a matter of fact, let me show you all the activators in the game, so you guys are aware. Maybe you're sitting on an activator that you don't recognize. Activate HP burn champion.
You're forgetting something.
Thanks to hellhades.com. Artak, Chronum, Eleanor is actually a poison, even though she does have the HP burn. So, but yes, Chronum is a burn activator. Artak, Ninja, Saoirse, Sissia. Theodore does both. Supreme Galek, Sophirian, Walking Tombdrang, and then we have Darkhail does both. Taya does both, okay? So Taya and Darkhail are single target poison activators as well. Taya is a Doom Tower farmable champion. And then when you have the poison activators, Theodore, Darkhail, Taya, Venomage A1, and Myceliac Priest Ornn. Myceliac Priest Ornn actually has a pretty decent activation in case you don't have a Xavia or an Eleanor on an AoE, and he's an epic from the Sylvan Watchers faction. He has an AoE where he's placing 2 poisons and poison sensitivity, and I was wrong, I stand corrected. His activation is single target, his placement is on an AoE. So you're looking at single target activation, which is great against bosses, like the dragon, namely, but not so great against wave content. So I do stand corrected there, but those are some options that you guys can consider. All right, guys, so now we're at Spider Hard 10. Now, before I switch over to the poison team that I just promised you guys, I will mention again one more thing on the hybrid strategy. It works really well with Seer too, right? So check out this team. We have a Staltis and a Yumeko to deal with the dragon, okay? They're gonna reflect poisons back to the dragon. But then we have a Ghostborn, our debuffer, in a shield set. He also brings an increased attack, so he's bringing a buff too, to activate Seer. So on a team like this, we're using Seer to get to the boss, and then we're shifting to a poison, not even a combust strategy, but a different strategy for the boss. It's kind of a hybrid, and this is what you need to utilize when you're using Seer, right? Because relying on only Seer for our damage, as we did on Dragon 25, it's not going to work against hard mode Dragon. Hard mode Dragon's just going to hit too hard with too much poisons. You're going to need a different strategy in addition. So on this strat, we just basically have Staltis, this guy right here. He's going to be the last man alive, or at least when the run goes like it's supposed to, he should be able to solo that dragon really quickly there. It's taking a little bit longer, but I will show you guys my main team, which is a poison team, right after this. So that would be kind of a Seer hybrid strategy if you don't want to use a poison combust strategy for the dragon. Now, I'm a big fan of the poison combust strategy for the dragon because the dragon's susceptible to poison. It's just nice and synergistic, right? So now I'll show you the big boy speed run, okay? So we've got now Theodore, Calvalax, Eleanor. Oh, what a joy. What a joy. It's a really fun team to watch, a very difficult team to assemble, because you'll notice, what don't we have here? Well, we don't have a reset champion. We don't need a reset champion because Cavalax has this passive where he's able to place 4 poisons on all enemies at the start of the turn. So that's 8 poisons between both Cavalax. What does that allow us to do? It allows us to go in there, and I'll show you the team setup. It's not that crazy. Essentially, on one wave, we're going to use Eleanor's poison combust to kill all the enemies, right? And on the second wave, since we don't have a reset champion and combust will not be available to us, we're going to shift the strategy to now Theodore is going to be the combuster, the instant activator. So the way that we do this on the team setup is, and I'll show you all the builds on these champions at the end of the video too. We'll have Eleanor on round 1, she'll be leading in with her combustibility. We have her going last on the team. Well, we actually have Cavalax a little bit slower, but it doesn't matter because the poisons are all being placed at the beginning of the round, right? Vis-a-vis his passive. So then we have Theodore. He's going to open up with his poison ability. This Theodore is going to open up with his poison ability too. Eleanor comes in and she combusts them all. On round 2, she's now going to be a poison applier for our team. She's going to shift roles. She's going to lead off with a smolder ability, and then Theodore is going to be our activator. Theodore 1 and Theodore 2, and that's how we're going to go ahead and handle the second wave. Let's go ahead and take a watch. We also have one of these Theodores built with a lot of HP in a regen in an immortal set, right? So that was Seer.
What do you mean?
Excuse me, Seer. That was Eleanor activating the first wave, and then the double combust activating the second wave there. And look at that. Cardinal, you're not supposed to stay alive. You're ruining my video. You're ruining my run. Usually she dies. But it is going to ruin my time. So we get here, and now it's up to this Theodore who just went there. He's going to be resisting and basically surviving to be able to solo the dragon if he has to. Another champion who's really good in kind of a solo the dragon type role, if you want to run a poison team, is actually Bad Alcazar, right? Bad Alcazar does a really good job of keeping himself alive, plus that passive deals more damage to enemies under poison, which is really nice as well. He has the full cleanse to get rid of the poisons. Another guy for survival, if you're just worried about clearing the dragon, he's tough to get, but King Galkabar, okay? He's got tons of continuous heals. He's got a lot of poisons too. He's a great option for a speed team. So this team is actually my 35-second team. So you can see, but by not killing that card and a little bit of different RNG against the dragon, it added, you know, almost 20 seconds to that time. But still, it's going to be, you know, this is end game poison combust. Let me show you a ice golem run, guys. And I hate to use all these gems on energy right now. This is the hybrid. This is the Xavier hybrid, right? So I put Bellinor on the same team. Because why not? Because why not, right? Now, Bellinor, I wonder if we would open up with the tactical partner instead. Let's try that to instantly activate her poison rain. And we have Bellinor going, you know, ahead in line anyway. So I guess we would want to do that. Just get the... That's a pretty good combo. And then I guess on round 2, he's not going to have it off on cooldown, so we could just go in with the debuffs instead, right? Opener on the A2. On Cavalax, we don't have to do anything. Artak and Theodore, well, you guys saw, we do have Theodore staggered, so on wave 2, he's going to be using his HP burn ability. We guys will see it in action right now. And similar to the dragon, how we were talking about Staltus being able, or Theodore being able to solo the dragon at the end. On this strategy, we're going to kind of do the same thing. We're going to solo the end with an Artak, right? That was Xavier. You may have noticed there, Xavier not only killed everybody, but blocked their revival as well. A really, really nice ability. I think that Xavier's, you can make a case for both of them in terms of who's better for Ice Golem versus Dragon. This is Ice Golem hard 10 as well, guys. The thing that Xavier has is she can deny revival on killing these 2 minions. When you kill the 2 minions of the Ice Golem, he's not going to ignore 100% or any of your defense anymore. So it really makes surviving a lot easier from there on out. That's what Xavier has. What Eleanor has is the full damage, which doesn't really matter, I guess, on top of on the boss here. But she does have that irresistible HP burn, which is super effective against Ice Golem hard. So I still love good old Eleanor, even on Ice Golem. But as I said at the beginning of the video, what can I say? I'm an Eleanor guy. But this is emergency heal and a blood shield ring. Mercy heal blessing and a blood shield ring, so he always has that shield up on our attack here. And I think I built such a tanky Theodore that it's not the end of the world if they're both alive. It's totally cool. This is the same Theodore who would finish off the dragon that we just saw on Dragon Heart 10. And again, after this, I'll try to show you none of these builds, and I imagine you guys are probably the same outside of maybe Hydra. None of these builds are using that good gear. I mean, the gear could be decent on some of them, you know, here and there. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I reserve all the best gear in my account strictly for PvP and for Hydra Clan Boss, and maybe for like very challenging wave content in Curse City, right? Basically endgame stuff. Then I kind of try to give my hand-me-downs with some exceptions. You know, if I'm trying to get a Slayer set or something, obviously it's not going to be a very hand-me-down. But I'm using my hand-me-downs on my wave clearing champ or my solo champions like these, right? Because honestly, if they're getting the job done, that's all we need. There's no extra points for being extra tanky as long as we are surviving. So obviously on a team like this, we could easily get rid of Bellinor and just add in a food champion right there, right? Same thing on the dragon run. So even though I'm showing you these somewhat fast runs here, keep in mind that, you know, in practice, what I'm actually doing is trying to cut out somebody from these teams. Again, in this case, it would be Bellinor, and just farming food or whoever in that spot instead, okay, to be energy efficient. Let me go ahead and show you the champions that we spot lit in today's video. My Seer is absolutely nothing impressive. The 6-star awakening is impressive. Everything else is, it's one of the weaker Seers that you'll find in the end game, but you don't need her to be any better than she was, really. She's getting everything done, you know? If I needed her to be better, I would build her better. I would build her to be, you know, more crit damage, more attack, whatever. But it's not really relevant on Seer. Crushing Rend is amazing because every hit's going to ignore percentage of a target's defense, 1% for every 10 levels. You gotta love it. It's so strong. That's the way to go on Seer. Even if you have it at 5 or even 3, I don't know, ignoring a little bit of percentage is still useful on Seer, but she should definitely be on your wish list for Soul Stones. So what do I have on her? Total stats you guys can see, 4,200 on the attack, some survivability, 224, 107, 304. I have her +1 empowered. That's it. Nothing too crazy. I have Savage Gear on her, crit damage. I have accuracy on the chest. Attack doesn't matter. I have speed on the boots. It's an enemy max HP and buff ability, the Karma Burn, right? I do have attack on the banner. I have crit damage on the amulet, and I have HP on the ring. Again, even on the amulet, we don't need it to be attack. I think accuracy is a better choice, or survivability is a better choice there. So that is Seer. Masteries, you guys can take a look. Again, nothing too crazy at all. We have, who else did I show you guys? Ghostborn, as I mentioned, is just random gear in a shield set. We have Newt, who I showed you guys in Spider Run, I guess, in a lethal set. We have Staltus. We have him in regeneration gear. A little bit of accuracy, that's about it. I have Yumeko speed tuned for a different team. Calvalax just in random gear. I have him in a bolster set just to help on an activation. I was running him in a hybrid team previously. We have Theodore. Theodore's in there, and this is the tanky, no, this is the non-tanky Theodore in regen and immortal. The tanky Theodore, I need to get him in regen and immortal. He's in regen and perception, and he wasn't as tanky as I thought he was, honestly. 93k, 279. He's a lot faster. Even his accuracy is pretty low considering the content that we were facing in today's video. Eleanor, we have her fast. Again, we're speed tuning the teams. We want her to go when we want her to go, and we can dictate that by the speed. Unlike clan boss teams or anything like that in yesteryear before Wixwell came around, we don't need to speed tuned in terms of the exact speed. We just need to speed tune in terms of making sure they go in the order that we want them to, right? So it's a lot easier. So this is her stats, man. Like, I'm looking at these stats right now. I'm like, what the heck am I doing here? But it still works. She's way over the crit cap, whatever. We don't care too much about, you know, min-maxing like her AoE damage, so to speak. We just need her accuracy and her speed to be where we want it to be. Again, that debuff cannot be resisted. It's not predicated on a critical hit there, but this, the A2 Smolder, is. So we do want at least 100% crit rate on our Eleanor because of the extra poison if the attack is critical. I do have Brimstone as a blessing on Eleanor as well. You can see her masteries right there. I showed you guys Artak. I have Artak with the accuracy because I needed it on this build in terms of masteries, but it's pretty irrelevant. I do have him in regeneration and immortal gear. As I mentioned, I do have a blood shield ring on him and excuse me, emergency heal. I actually had Artak on my my summoning, my soulstone wish list since it came out, and I finally got lucky and I got a 6-star awakening on Artak, right? So not empowered, but I do have that 6-star emergency heal, which is really, really helpful. On Artak, again, total stats, you guys can see right there, 101, 3,300, 269, resist at 481. Important on the resist for Ice Golem for Artak if you wanted to solo that content. On Xavia, we have her in triple perception. Triple perception works great on poison combustors, on Theodore, Eleanor, Xavia. Great option. You can't go wrong. 418 on the accuracy, 99, 203, and some attack on her as well. Bellinor, whatever. You can see the masteries on Xavia as well. So guys, there it is. Some speed runs, kind of how to construct, how to build a Seer team, how to build a poison team, why you would want to do these runs, and why you would want to try to remove a champion from these runs. Hopefully I did a pretty good job explaining some substitutions. We talked about all the different activators out there as well, thanks to hellhades.com. I will point out one more champion before I let you guys go, and I'm in the process of building him. I can't believe I've never built him, but it's Taurus. If you're looking for an epic poisoner, because you need to find a champion who's going to lay down, you know, 2, 3, or 4 poisons, ideally 3 or 4 poisons. Well, Taurus is the best epic out there. He's going to place 4 poisons on all enemies on Toxic Nova. And he's an epic skinwalker, okay? So Taurus is going to be, if you're struggling right now to find, hey, I have a combustor, but I don't have the poisoners, look at Taurus. Another guy you can look at is Uragrim. He's only going to be bringing 2 poisons and a continuous heal on all allies, but he does bring some poisons on the A1. He's a good support, and he has a speed in all battles or a lead as well. A few others. I should have probably mentioned this earlier. Sorry, guys. Richtof, the Bolt. He's got an AoE, 3-time hitter. Each hit places a poison on all enemies for 2 turns. There is Corvus. Corvus the Corruptor, he has an AoE. Each hit has a 2-time hitter, each hit placing 2 poisons. So 4 more poisons on Corvus the Corruptor. There's Tomb Lord. Tomb Lord has an A2 where he's attacking 1 enemy, but then has a 100% chance of placing 2 poisons on all enemies for 2 turns. If it's critical, 4 poisons on all enemies for 2 turns. So there's some substitutions for you guys as well in terms of poison damage dealers out there. There's a lot more poisoners that we didn't cover in today's video, but I'll leave it there for you guys. Much love, and as always, take care.